Hey everyone, this is Bree. Also with this group is Sylvia and Megan, and we are going to present our Pecha Kucha on culture responsive pedagogy in math. I am not understanding why you don't get it. It is simple, exclaimed an 8th grade Algebra 1 teacher after a student had mentioned to her that she did not understand the first homework assigned for the year. At that moment, the student began to doubt her intelligence. She began to wonder why the teacher was coming down on her so hard. She wondered if she was the only one who did not understand the homework. The student was the only African American in that class, but it had been like that for most of her life. In the past, teachers have never made it an issue. Wasn't an issue now. The student took Because of that experience, the student started to dislike math. She ran away from it whenever possible. In her senior year of high school, the student had the option to take an advanced placement calculus class that would have given her college credits. She told others that she chose not to take the math course that year because she had completed all her math requirements. But in reality, she was just scared. If you have not figured it out, the student that has been mentioned is me. The phobia of math still exists in my life today, all because of one experience. There are many others who have the same experience and the same fear because of a similar experience. Math is important for all students and it's important for their future. Learning math can seem simple for some but difficult for others. For minority students, math can sometimes seem something that they cannot relate to. There continues to be achievement gaps in math performances between African American students and white students. Researchers have reported that minority students as a group experience a less rigorous curriculum than white students, and receiving less math preparation makes things difficult for these students later on in upper grades. Furthermore, when minority students who lack math preparation are promoted to high school, teachers often lower their expectations, and minority students are often advised to choose a math course that is less rigorous. A researcher conducted a study to test mathematics tracking policy in a suburban school district where high school students have the opportunity to study algebra in 8th grade. The researcher observed characteristics of students in the algebra class and the effects of their mathematics courses for 2,634 8th grade students. There were more African American students in the 8th grade mathematics class than there were in algebra courses. The registration of white students was equal for both courses. The researcher contends that school districts can provide Algebra 1 courses for all students by the 8th grade and can improve the process of placing these students in Algebra 1 classes where there are no biases. Some of these biases about minority students comes from the 1954 landmark Supreme Court case Brown versus Board of Education. This case ruled that separate but equal policy from the Dred Scott case in the United States was unconstitutional in the legal mandate to desegregate schools across the country. This landmark decision was a big factor in the development of a current education system in the United States. African American students were allowed to integrate with white students and for the first time had white teachers. Some of these teachers were not receptive to having diverse students at their schools, and the students could feel the tension. There was fear and stereotypes coming from both sides that resulted in negative learning environments. Because minority students are expected to function with a system that was not created to serve their educational needs, minority students are often marginalized through the deficit thinking of teachers. Even teachers who come from diverse backgrounds can have deficit beliefs if they have embraced a mainstream education. Rather than viewing the assets students bring to school, educators are viewing cultural, social, and linguistic differences as problems that originate in the home. Researchers believe deficit beliefs are present in schools, but they can also point out that evidence has been shown where students who feel they are treated fairly and equally by staff, regardless of race and ethnicity, are more likely to trust and value the opinions of behaviors of staffs. It is important to understand funds of knowledge. Math teachers must understand the funds of knowledge of their students in order to incorporate the assets into math instruction and curriculum. The underlying question is, how do we keep African American students engaged in math class? It starts by building relationships with students and showing that their education matters. Researchers advocate that teachers should rethink how they communicate with their students in the classroom. Effective communication requires teachers to analyze not only student behaviors, but also their own behaviors and ways of communicating. To many minority students, school is a place where they cannot be themselves. Students feel they are constantly being scrutinized because of what they are wearing, how they are talking, or how they are acting around others. This can cause minority students to lose hope in the educational system and fall behind in achievement. Culturally responsive pedagogy can make students of color, specifically minority students, successful in school. Culturally responsive pedagogy must experience academic success. Students must maintain and develop cultural competency, and students must develop a critical consciousness through which they challenge the status quo of the current social order. Cultural responsiveness requires that students keep their culture while maintaining academic excellence. Students can do this by working collaboratively, teaching each other, and being responsible for each other's learning. We went through all of our school's vision and mission statements. We chose Huddle ISD's. Their mission statement is Hippo Nation inspires excellence in academics, character, and community. Their vision statement reads Huddle ISD aspires to be the premier choice in education through innovation, leadership, and diversity. We thank you for listening and watching our Pecha Kucha.